Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Employee Benefits Review Committee workshop this time. We have passed around a rope sheet, so everybody's here, and we do have an agenda, able to conduct business. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the agenda? Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, state the same aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. Next item is public comment.
Do not have anybody signed up for public comments.
Moving right on, there is no old business, so we'll go into our new business, which is a TCRS presentation by Mr. James Armstead.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm with the Tennessee Treasury Department. Let's see, I'll pull up a presentation here. There we go.
He's got the little winger there.
Oh, I'll see you in the jump slide. Okay. So we have 3 pension plans now. Okay. Many of you are probably familiar with the legacy TCRS plan. That's what the county has, and most of our local governments have the legacy plan. Got 2 others. We're going to cover them all today. So we'll start with what is Retire Ready. We created Retire Ready about 10 years ago. It really combined 3 things, and that's TCRS, our deferred compensation plans. We have a 401k and a 457 that you all can take advantage of, depending on what you want to do with what you currently have. What do you currently have? 457.
We have 457,
All
401k and a pension plan that's closed.
Right. And then all the education we can do. So we have 17 retirement plan advisors throughout the state, always available to work with you folks. They can do a lot more with your folks if you all have our deferred comp plans as well, because they can help them in terms of planning there, but they can also just give general TCRS information if you guys were to keep your current deferred comp plans. So who has to be in TCRS? State employees like myself, all higher ed, all teachers, judges, attorney generals, PDs, and then local governments, and we're about 710 and growing local governments in TCRS. We continue to bring new ones on each quarter. Newest one being Lewisburg. So y'all's neighbor. Lewisburg came in, and then the newest being Lynchburg. Starts on January 1st in TCRS. All right, so TCRS is a defined benefit plan. It's a pension plan. So, separate this in your mind from your deferred compensation that you all currently have. They're apples and oranges, right? They have nothing to do with each other. We're defining an outcome here. We're providing lifetime benefits to retirees once they meet certain eligibility. And the benefits are calculated with a set formula. So there's only so much, that people can do in terms of TCRS. They don't have a whole lot of control over it. Contributions, assuming you all decide to go with TCRS and want your employees to contribute, most places do. Most places are 5% contributory in TCRS. That's their money. They get it back. It's simply helping to fund the plan. Okay, it has no bearing on their benefit. They're just helping to fund it. If they leave service, they can take a refund. If they pass away in service, their beneficiary always receives their contributions plus interest. Main way they get their contributions out is when they start drawing their benefit. We pull off those contributions first. They're gone within a couple of years. City's money pays them out for the rest of their lives and potentially their beneficiaries' lives. And then we invest the contributions on your behalf. We're one of just a handful of states in the U.S. that we don't outsource our money. Okay, we have a whole group of investment folks, and we're investing about $110 billion a day. These are folks we hire off Wall Street, and they're actively investing the state's money. About $73 billion of that is TCRS. Okay. About 220,000 actives, now it's over 150,000 retirees, and again, that $65.5 billion is now about $73 billion. We pay out about $2.9 billion in benefits each year, and 92% of that stays in Tennessee, so it is an economic driver. About 70% of that money comes from investment earnings. The rest of it comes from employee and employer contributions to TCRS. What determines your benefit, and this is true in all the plans we're going to talk about today, that's really 2 things, time and money. Okay, we call the money the average final compensation. That's the average of your highest 60 consecutive months of salary. For most of us, that's going to be our last 5 years, but it doesn't have to be. We see teachers become principals, finish off teachers all the time. Take that salary snapshot wherever it is in your career and at whatever TCRS employer you're at. So we do see, especially in the public safety arena, people popping around from place to place to place to try to get that number up. You apply it to all your time across all TCRS employers. Okay. Age is a factor. You can go early in all these plans. We'll talk about that with a reduction, and then the accrual factor. We're going to talk about 3 accrual factors today. All right, legacy plan. This is the plan that, again, the majority of our local governments have. This is the plan that state teachers have forever. State closed this plan in 2014. State employees and teachers are on the hybrid plan now, which we'll talk about. But local governments are still eligible to adopt a legacy plan, and they continue to do so. Pension multiplier is 1.575% here, so we can retire at 60 invested. Vesting is 5 years, so you got to give us 5 years of service in order to be due a benefit. You can leave after 5 years and turn that benefit on when you're 60, okay? Or 30 years of service regardless of age. So do we have 48, 49-year-old retirees? Sure, we got a lot of them. Start drawing that benefit, go do something else. That's fine. And then here's the formula that we calculate when you retire. Take 1.575%, we multiply that by our years of service, multiplied by that average final compensation number, gives us a yearly benefit, which we divide by 12. So 30 years of service, 30 times 1.575 is a 47% income replacement for life. Okay. This represents the maximum or the single life annuity. About 2/3 of our members choose this. The other third choose one of the 6 survivorship options. Okay. That reduces the amount you get from the max based on the age of your beneficiary. It's usually a spouse. But upon your death and retirement, the spouse could either draw 100%, 50%, or 70% of your benefit. It's something you decide when you retire. Okay. I can't even see what those numbers look like for myself because I'm not close enough. Okay. You get a benefit estimate. We'll show you that when you get close. You can go early at 55 invested. It's about a 24% reduction. That reduction gets less and less the closer you get to 60. Or 25 years of service if you're not yet 55, double penalty there. We don't see a lot. The goal is to get to 60 or 30 years. Okay. First decision you have to make as an employer is what level of contribution do you want the employees to have? You can say we don't want them to pay anything, and you can fully fund the plan. That obviously makes it more expensive. There's not a whole lot of those around. Those employers that were non-contributory may have moved to a contributory structure to help control costs. Or 2.5%, or again, the most common is 5% employee contribution. And then you have to decide if you want to offer a cost of living adjustment in retirement. Most do this, okay? It's 3%. So when you retire, it's capped at 3%, and it does compound upon itself based on the Federal Consumer Price Index for the previous year, which has been well above that the past few years. So all the retirees have gotten that full 3%. Okay? Historically, I've seen it hover between 1.5% to 2.5%. Cost. We got to charge you something the first year. Okay. We don't have any data on you yet. The actuary thinks that if you did a 5% employee contribution with cost of living, it would be 6.9% of participating payroll. Every year you get a new rate. So if you ask me, what's it going to cost next year? My answer is, I don't know. That would be, I would have to know how the markets are going to do. And if I do that, I wouldn't be in this job. So we got to charge you something. And then we're going to have a year's worth of data. And we're going to be able to give you really more of a true rate after you've been in the plan for a fiscal year. Okay. Our goal after that point is to keep that rate as flat as possible. Okay. We don't want to see a lot of ups and downs with your rate. We issue unfunded liabilities every year or assets to your plan, and we recognize those slowly over a 20-year period. Okay. So say we have a great year in the market and we issue you $200,000 in assets. We're not immediately going to lower your rate by $200,000. We're going to recognize it slowly. Because maybe next year we issue you $500,000 in unfunded. Right? It's a push-pull mechanism to keep the rate as flat as possible. Okay. Every full-time employee, if you adopt any of these plans, has optional membership. All new hires after adoption, it is a condition of employment. They do not have a choice. Why do we give current people an option? Because maybe you have someone that's going to retire next year. They're never going to invest in this plan. They're going to say, hey, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want in here. So if you adopt this, I'm gonna ask you all to have a sheet of paper to make everyone sign. Because what happens is 5 years from now, they'll come back to you and say, I wish I said I wanted to do it. You can say, no, I didn't. They can join later, but they missed out on those usual service. Right? Part of this too is if after adoption, I come out and I do employee meetings. Okay, I meet with all the employees, series of meetings, explain how this works, explain the choice they have to make. Okay. You only can come into TCRS at the beginning of each quarter. Too late, obviously, for January. We could make it happen for April. We'd have to move fairly quickly. July is probably best time. And you'll actually get your new rate the following July because that's a full fiscal year. All right, plan 2. I don't have any of these in Middle Tennessee, but we got a handful in West Tennessee. 1.4% multiplier. So it's that exact same formula, but it's a lower benefit instead of 1.575. And you got to work a little longer. 65 invested, or by meeting what we call the rule of 90. That's your years of service plus your age of retirement equals 90. So you could go at 60 in this plan if you started when you're 30. No 48 retirees here. But the earliest you can get is mid-50s. Early is available at 60 invested or by meeting the rule of 80. Everything else is the same. You've got to decide what level of contribution and if we offer cost of living adjustment. And as you can see, it's a little bit cheaper, 4.4% for 5% contribution with cost of living. Switch over to that higher. This is our third plan. This is the hybrid plan. This is what the state is on. This is what teachers are on. This is what all higher ed is on since July 1st of 2014. We also have a lot of cities on this. The city of Cookeville is on this. The city of Brentwood is on this. The city of Lebanon is on this. Montgomery County is on this. We have a city of Bristol is on this. We've got a lot that are on this one. Okay? It's a good plan. In my mind, it can be better than legacy if you have people in a legacy plan that aren't saving extra for retirement. It actually is always better. If you take a legacy member who's never saved any more money versus a hybrid member who does nothing, this is better. All right. This doesn't matter for you since you are. Okay, so think of the hybrid plan as the hybrid plans. It is 2 plans. Okay, it's TCRS and 401k. It is designed to work with our 401k. You are allowed to use your 401k if possible. If it's a 401a, which I would say it is, because you all can't get a 401k by law. There's no way. You have to use our 401k because it's designed to work with the 401k. But on the TCRS piece, it's a 1% multiplier. So 30 years of service, you've got a 30% guaranteed income replacement. Same eligibility rules as Plan 2, so 65, a rule of 90. And again, with all these plans, you get to choose if you want to reduce this amount and do the survivorship option at retirement. Okay. This is how it works. If you look at the bottom right-hand cell, 16% of total compensation goes towards retirement. And again, you need to be using our 401k, so we would have to make changes on your deferred comp side if you wanted to do this plan. You don't get a new rate every year. It is a flat 9%. You never pay more, you never pay less, and I'll show you why in a minute. The employer puts 4% into TCRS, that's overfunding it. I think it costs right now about 2.1% for the hybrid plan. That extra money goes into a stabilization reserve, and I'll explain that in a minute. You're giving the employees a 5% non-match into the 401k. So just that piece is better than most private sector plans, right? Members have to be contributory at 5%. We automatically enroll them in the 401k at 2%. They can opt out of that and still get the 5%. We do this on purpose because they have to take action to opt out of 2%. We think that that 7% needs to be going on the member side. And most people don't want to take action. So we have a pretty high stick rate with that 2%. And then with education, most people will put more than that in. Okay. We put them immediately in the 401k target date funds, because we have to put them somewhere, right? Those funds go from more conservative, more aggressive to more conservative, the older they get. They can immediately go in and diversify or meet with one of the retirement plan advisors and create their own portfolio. Okay? We have to put them somewhere. So 7% going in on the member side. 5-year vesting in that TCRS side, just like the other plans. Cool thing here is you're immediately vested in the 401k side. So you have someone you hire, and they only work through 2 years, and they leave. They're not going to get anything from TCRS besides their contributions back because they didn't vest. But they keep every cent that you all put in the 401k on their behalf. No vesting. Okay? So that's an advantage. This plan. Again, same service requirements in terms of 65 rule of 90 when you can retire. Stuff like 2. Similar to the $50,000 average final comp, kind of what that benefit would look like. Just on the TCRS side, use of service, not taking into account all that money that's been dumped in the 401k for them. Okay, so we talked about all this. Straight up 9% for the employer. That 9% is broken up of 5% and 4% for TCRS and 5% for the 401k. How do we keep it at 9%? When the state looked at this, we wanted to control costs. So we built in these cost controls. We ran the state population through a pressure test before the legislation was passed to do this. We ran the state population through the 2008-2009 financial crisis to see what would happen if they were all on this plan. So again, the plan is cheaper than 4%. So the excess goes into a stabilization reserve account. Let's say the actuary comes back to us and says, you know what, and we don't expect this to ever happen, but they can say, you know what, it's going to cost more than 4% to fund this plan this year. First thing we're going to do is use that stabilization reserve account to keep your rate at 4%. Second thing we're going to do is we'll reduce or suspend the cost of living adjustment for retirees. Third thing we'll do is we'll shift the 401k contributions to the TCRS plan. So we'll go 5% to TCRS, 4% to 401k. Now we're in apocalyptic territory here. We'll increase employee contributions to TCRS by 1. And now the world's ending here. We reduce future service accrual or freeze the plan. So in that pressure test that we did with the state, all we had to do is use the stabilization reserve and suspend COLA for 1 year. Then everything went back to normal. And that was running it through the worst financial crisis we've had in recent history. Okay, that's the hybrid plan. And those are our 3 plans. So and then of course the other plan is just deferred comp only, which you already have now. So I'll open up to any questions you'll have.
Door's open.
So on the hybrid, I just want to make sure I wrote this down right. The employer pays 9%.
So 4% goes into TCRS, 5% to 401k.
So employee 9%. Employee is 5%, but you sign them up for another 2, which they could opt out of. So it's kind of set at 9 and 5 for sure.
Yep.
And the 2 just may or may not.
Yeah, my biggest ask to all cities that have this is don't talk about opting out of the 2%. We send them a packet; they know they can do it. But we the more our goal is to get folks to 100% retirement. It's doable, very doable. Hybrid plan, they got a lot more skin in the game, right? They got to pay attention, do a lot more stuff. Legacy employees often tend to think that's all they need. And then they retire and they realize 47% of their income is replaced. They've never saved any more. This forces them to save the 401k. That being said, most of our local governments are on legacy plan with our 401k or another 401k for people to voluntarily save. So generally what happens, and what happened in Lynchburg, was they actually used our 401k exclusively. That was their only benefit before they did. TCRS is anyone who joins TCRS, they stop getting the city contributions of the deferred comp plan because you're paying so much for TCRS. They can voluntarily use your deferred comp.
Which our deferred plans closed. Our current pension plans closed.
So your deferred comp plan.
Right. But our 401k currently the city puts in 7%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you would normally,
and
you could, I mean, you could say, it would be a wonderful thing. Brentwood does it. Brentwood gives them 2% on top of the legacy plan, or the closed legacy plan. You can give them a match on top of TCRS, sure, if you want to. That's up to y'all. If you want to shift those deferred comp plans to the state's plans, that's doable as well. That's just a different process.
Any buyback years?
Yeah, it's expensive.
And the city would have to approve a resolution to allow that, right?
We'd have to do a
Because
study.
the city costs too.
We'd have to do a study. And you decide if the city wants to fully fund buying back the time, which they did in Lynchburg, or, they're the only ones I've ever seen do. Or the employees could put their 5% in to buy it back. I'll be honest with you, normally when that's authorized, the employees see the cost and they don't do it. So, you can't. You can go prospectively, but this discussion is talking about going prospectively. You can run a study saying how much it would cost. We're never gonna tell you how much it costs the employees. All I'm gonna do is come back and say, this is what the city's gonna pay. And the employees individually apply, and they get a letter if they can do it or not. The city has to pay the liability even if no employees by the time back, because they always can. So say we come back and say that's gonna cost you all $2 million, you gotta pay us $2 million, and the employees can buy it back or not. That's for prior shows. And you can say 5 years, 10 years, some people will say, let's run a study for 5 years for everyone's vesting, right? And you can do that. It's about $1,300 to run a study, and it'll take sometimes 5 to 6 months for us to get those results back.
On the TCRS side of it, what is the earliest somebody, say they die 50 years old, is dead? Do they get a benefit or spouses?
There's a spousal death benefit once you have 10 years of service. They have to have 10 years of service. If they don't have 10 years of service, the spouse, whoever the beneficiary is, always gets their contributions plus interest back in lump sum.
It doesn't have to be the spouse, it could be anyone they designate.
For their contributions plus interest, but there's a spousal lifetime benefit. So if I get her back, way back to Nashville, Chelsea calls me another number, she starts getting paid out the rest of her life. If she's my spouse, and I've got 10 years of service.
401k side of it is always going back.
So whoever the beneficiary is, yeah.
Yep.
And that's assuming you want to use our 401k. I'll tell you right now, it's cheaper than what you already have. There's no way that the fees are less than what you already have. I've never seen a plan that's cheaper in the States in terms of employee costs, employee fees.
And if somebody walks away after 2 years, they take the city's contribution
No.
with them.
They take their contributions,
Okay, I thought you said something earlier about.
5% plus interest.
No, I'm talking about on the 401k stuff.
Oh, well, if you did the hybrid plan.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah, they do. They take everything. If you did the hybrid plan. If you do legacy, again, there's generally not city money going into the 401k because you're paying so much for TCS.
That's what happens on our current 401k.
They take their own money. They don't take the city.
They don't take.
They're
Well, y'all have
If
vested.
they're
That's
vested,
what
I'm talking about.
Not after 2 years, example.
Before vested.
Yeah, with the hybrid plan, you're immediately vested in the 401k.
And signups for new employees on that, I mean, for a new hire, they are immediately enrolled. There's no waiting period on
We do not offer probationary period.
age limits.
I mean, it's going to be your full timers, so they're going to be 18.
Right, but
When not 20 or 21 years, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm telling you, like, we've got folks at TDOT that start when they're 18. They're done at 48. They take a job with NDOT, Nashville, they got a good pension plan too, it's separate. By the time they're 60, they're drawing 2 pensions, making more than they've ever worked. But that's just there because it's very convenient. Nashville's packed full of retired state employees and vice versa. When they retire, they can go work in the private sector and make as much money as they want to. We don't care. They get their benefits. They want to come back to another TCRS agency. They have to full-time, they suspend their benefit. They want to come back part-time, there's a couple of avenues for them to do that and still get their benefit. Sick time counts. So when you retire, every 20 unused sick days converts into 1 month of service. So in the legacy plan, the state's really generous with us with sick time. We have people retire at 29 years of service all the time because they've got a year's worth of sick time to push them over that 30-year threshold. So sick time counts. And to be honest with you, I've seen it, I've done this for 17 years and it actually helps from an HR perspective. People don't blow through their sick time because they know it helps them when they retire. We have all these plans come with disability retirement too. So if you've got someone who can't work anymore because of disability and applying for SSI, they can apply for TCUS disability as well and get both. So that's another benefit as well.
How has the 401k performed in the last 12 months? What kind of returns do you see?
It's good. I mean, it depends on the investment option. But on our website, if you go to retirereadytn.gov, you can do a deep dive into the 401k. 401k and 457 are identical. Investment options identical fees. They both have Roth. They both have Roth options. You can do post-tax contributions and pull that money out tax-free. And they can use both. So we do see higher compensated people max out the 401k, max out the 457. So that does happen. We even see people that aren't higher compensated. Like I've got a lady in a small little Tennessee town. She's the recorder. She brings home a $3 paycheck. Her husband owns a contracting company, doesn't have benefits. She maxes up the 401k, maxes up the 457, provides TCRS and insurance. So we do see it. So a lot of teachers do it too. This usually is a good recruitment and retention tool, particularly for public safety. It's usually what our Gallatin got passed. Gallatin's the higher plan too. They came from a different comp structure to the higher. Questions?
Is there any way, the rule of 90, that's firm, or is there any way the city can work with that?
That is firm. That's in law. Cool thing about TCRS is every single piece of it is in statute, right? So people have the plan documents. The plan documents is Tennessee code editing. Every single piece of it's in statute. And we require you by law to pay us what we tell you to pay us to fund it. You can't say I want to fund less. You can pay more, and most cities do. They'll say, oh, my rate was 6.9%. Say we come back next year and say, you know what, your real rate's 5.4. Smart thing to do is stay at 6.9. So you're just pumping more money into your plan. We look at every plan separately. We look at Bedford County completely separately from Shelbyville. They have a different rate because they have a different employee makeup. And what the actuary looks at, the main thing is investment returns. But we look at mortality, we look at salaries, we look at all kinds of things. A couple of years ago, we had a city that went through a pay study and everyone's salaries went up. With that, the rate went up. So you got to take that into account. But
Currently, we have a 401k. If we decided to go with a 401k, and you said we're 100% invested in the 401k, so we can roll over what we have into
yeah, there's a couple different avenues. We'd have to do a little bit more work there. I'd want to do a fee comp. I'd want to do a fee comp for you so you can see the difference in fees. That's the biggest thing. If I come back and say, hey, look, our stuff's 60% cheaper.
Yeah.
Which it usually is. So we would do a fee comparison. Yeah, what you have now in the states, 401k, 457. And then we would work, there's two avenues. You can freeze those plans and allow people to individually transfer their money over. No new money goes in. Or we can do a conversion, or we convert all the assets over. But there are sometimes some back-end service fees from your current provider. But there have to be some research done on the city side, talking to your current provider and seeing what they will allow, what they'll allow. We'll take anything. We'll charge it.
On our current, our other plan, the one that's closed out, our traditional pension that we haven't accepted even since like 2005 or something.
Mm-hmm.
A few members from that body have gone over to the county and they found a way to get them in on TCRS with their years of service and everything. Is there any kind of bulk way that we can theoretically move that whole pension plan with its $18 million and get it into TCRS? Is that even out there?
There is, yeah. There's different things we can do. And Lewisburg looked at all this. They decided not to because it's really expensive. We can manage the investments. We can manage the investments out of that plan. We can take some of that load off of y'all. We did it with Franklin. We managed Franklin's whole plan. And all new hires are in TCRS. But condition to that is you got to join TCRS. Lewisburg decided just to let that plan die out. But we can run numbers, and again, that will take some time and a lot of work. But we're willing to do.
Because we're basically 100% funding on our.
You're in a good spot. Yeah.
But
Expensive, I'm sure.
yeah, the benefits probably on what formula is.
It's 2%, I think.
2%.
Yeah.
So it's a little richer than TCR.
And I think that would be an issue because federal law says if you're moving a higher benefit plan to a lower benefit plan, can't do it. Can't diminish benefits. So we probably couldn't do anything there.
So we would just leave that,
We
and
just
we're gonna
leave it
leave
alone.
that committee going for the next.
Yeah, you have, I mean, I think that would probably be the smartest thing. We can look at it again. I have to talk to our legal department, our investments department, to see if that would be doable. But I think with that disparity in the multiplier, I don't think, it'd be some of the employees might not like that.
Yeah, we would be looking to reduce benefits for.
Yeah, you'd be reducing that.
I see the advantages for new employees with TCRS and hybrid plan, I see that. But I'm having trouble seeing the advantages for existing employees to go over to TCRS. Folks that have anywhere from 5 to 15 years of service currently in, you spoke about how it would be pretty cost prohibitive to buy back years of service and that kind of thing. So those folks that are already deep inside of our 401k offerings, is there little to no benefit to actually
It
switch up?
depends on how you look at it, right? Some people will say, that's my prior service. That money there, that's my prior service. If I know I'm gonna do 10, 15 years in TCUS, I'm gonna get a guaranteed benefit for life. So it really depends. In my mind, it depends on how risk averse they are, right? Sure, I mean, could they do better staying in the 401k? Yeah. Could they do worse? Yeah. Because you never know what's gonna happen with that. With TCUS, you're guaranteed that benefit, and they can play with the numbers, and that's why I come out and talk to them. And that's every time it's people on their phones, 0.01575 times salary times years to see what they might draw, right? If you're, obviously, yeah, for new hires, it's a great thing because they can volunteer. And part of our job when we come out is saying, look, TCRS is wonderful, but you need to be saving more money too. Use these plans that y'all have voluntarily to fund it. But it just, it's the idea of a guaranteed benefit. We're the third best funded public pension plan in the United States. We're a conservative plan, but that's why we're so well funded. We invest conservatively, and we're, together, all of our poly subs are 112% funded. Those benefits are guaranteed to be there. But yeah, there's always a school of thought saying deferred comp's better. That's what happened in the legislature. There was a school of thought that said, hey, let's stop pensions. State employees get deferred comp. There's a school of thought saying public employees need some kind of guarantee. And they met in the middle and came up with a hybrid plan back in 2012. And a lot of states have followed suit. U.S. military's in a hybrid plan now. So I think that question is dependent on each person. Some people might feel that way, some people might not.
Can we have the numbers run then to see what it would be for either one of these plans, to know what the cost might be, before, we make any decisions or anything else like that, to see if there is a cost savings to the city, if there is a benefit to the employee. I think that we ought to take the step to run the numbers.
In the form of motion.
That's my motion.
Run the numbers on what though? Because we know it's 9%. Hybrid.
Legacy is 6.9%.
What are we running numbers? I'm trying to figure out.
But basically, if you go with the legacy plan, it's exactly what we're doing now. Only you wouldn't, I'm assuming, the city of 7% that we're putting in now would go toward TCRS.
Yes, it's
If
6.
we lose, and I can't imagine the city coming up with another 7% on the TCRS on top of the 7% 401k.
So
But if the hybrid plan is basically 9% cost to the city, which is 2% more than what we're paying now. But the employee is gonna have to come up generally with, if they come up with the 7%, the employees 5% on the TCRS and 2% on the 401k, man, they've got that's a real retirement plan. If you put in 16% in, your guaranteed walkaway money is like the city's 5% plus what you contributed.
Plan. What's interesting is like when Brentwood switched from legacy to hybrid, their rate, usually when they switch, it's people who have like a minimal, but their rate was 15% of payroll in the legacy plan. So like we want cost savings, slow rolls, everyone stays at legacies only for new hires, we switch over. Brentwood's rate was their 5.5%, but they published their plan. So they adopted it and paid more.
Okay, to get back in Robert's rules, we do have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a motion restated, please?
Yeah, and I guess with explanation, you said thered be costs associated with anything that we did. So that's what I mean, run the numbers, not the percentage that I know that we're gonna pay. So if there's options. So, I wanna make a motion that we run those numbers to see what the cost difference would be going to either one of the plans. Or I think you got 3 plans there, right? So, for what that would be. So, Lisa, can you translate that?
Just taking that percentage of payroll and getting true numbers. And that would be assuming everyone joined.
Correct.
Okay, we do have our motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Discuss.
Oh, discussion.
Just to help Kate, I can see her, she's sitting there wondering, what do I really do? I think you're looking, just basically a spreadsheet kind of thing on the 3 different plans based with our numbers and these percentages, it'll give us a number. You can estimate a cost, give you some kind of ballpark.
And I'll send you something and say, here's the percentage what we charge you year one. And just know that will, except for the hybrid plan, plans 1 and plans 2, we're gonna come back with a new rate for you every year. It's gonna change. But we can do year 1 numbers for sure.
And just the employees need to know, now that it's not mandated, they put anything in the 401K, but if we go to TCRS, 5% at least is gonna come out of their checks.
Yes.
If that's the plan you choose.
Yeah. Or if you decide to do that, again, you can pay 11.1% of payroll and they'll pay it.
Can amendment to the motion, is there a possibility that we can add onto the side of that spreadsheet, that rule of 90 for this one and the rule of 90 for this plan, but I think the legacy plan does
60 and 60.
Yeah. Just so we compare apples to apples on each one.
You have that.
Yeah, I'll help.
That'll be something you're probably used to running.
Yeah, I can help.
Further discussion?
Not at this time.
Are we ready to vote on the?
Yes, sir. Aye.
All those in favor, state by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed and approved. Now, again, the floor is open for general discussion. For any questions or comments?
What do y'all do again? Well, that's our next discussion, because we're scheduled to meet, every Thursday. However, next Thursday's Christmas, so I'm to be here this Thursday or the next Thursday.
I will be here, you slackers.
Yeah, we'll get them.
I'll call it.
We do have a meeting on January the 8th, and we will need to have that meeting because the employee kitchen committee met the other day, and they have asked to have a special call meeting with you all that morning, at 9:30. So January 8th at 9:30, we will have a meeting.
Do you all want me to do a fee comparison on your current deferred comp versus ours? Do you all need to make a motion for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Whole different.
Lisa, will you send out an invite for that, by the way?
Okay, wait a minute.
Josh, you're making a motion for a fee comparison?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Yeah, could we also get the numbers run for, the fees from our current deferred to your plan as well? Do you have time to do that by, well, I guess.
No, there's a lot of work, unfortunately, there's a lot of work y'all gotta do to get me those numbers, but.
Is that like a month?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we get what we need from y'all, which I will email you and tell you what we need, then our internal deferred comp team can run those numbers fairly quickly. But what it takes from y'all is getting those numbers from your current vendors, which is sometimes kind of like pulling teeth, or sometimes it's very easy. It just depends. But there's certain things we have to get for your current vendor. You guys have to get.
When you get your numbers and everything is run, if you'll just get back to me, then we can make sure we have a meeting for you to bring that back.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman, can you please restate your motion, and we'll ask for a second, and then we can have further discussion.
Yeah, just to run the numbers on your fees versus what we're currently on the deferred.
Both, right?
Plans.
On the
Yeah,
401K.
the 401K stuff and are in the four, whatever the other number is, 457.
We'll run every deferred.
All the numbers. Run all the numbers.
All of it.
That's.
I'll second.
I like that motion, run all the numbers.
Motion, we do have a second. All those in, oh, wait a minute, further discussion. Trying to jump the gun, further discussion on the motion. If there's no further comments or questions, we'll or ask for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
So the January 8th meeting is going to be the joint meeting with the pension committee.
Yes.
When will we talk about these numbers when they come back?
Well, he's gonna
I'll
get,
let you know.
he's gonna let me know when he gets.
On both sides,
Because-
both sets of numbers?
Yeah, we
We
need to
voted
come
on?
back and have a meeting when we
Yeah.
have all the information. I would say it's gonna probably be just listening to you and sounding like it's quite a bit of numbers, that we'll have our January 8th meeting, and then we're probably looking at maybe the 22nd, 29th of
I
January.
think so. Like me and a lot of our team are, tomorrow will be our last.
I
day
know,
until the
I
5th.
figured you'd be out
So,
until after the first.
I will have time tomorrow to email you what we need from your vendors, so you guys can start kind of figuring that out. And then I'll also email you kind of the percentages of paper that get run, so you can start working on your homework first.
Okay. So we'll have our January 8th meeting with the pension committee. I need some minutes approved, so we'll clean up the minutes, and then we'll,
Good enough.
yeah, the next meeting will be the TBA, but close to the end of January, stay close to the end of January. Okay?
Are we willing to have any other further discussion about this while we're still here? Or are we wanting to wrap it up?
We've got everybody in the room, right?
Discuss away.
Yes.
I realize that we're not gonna be able to have a full-fledged conversation about this until we actually have the numbers in hand. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the elephant in the room when we talk about all of this. And the two big ones are an extra 2% liability that has to be put on the city from its 7% that's already taken on its shoulders. In addition to that, you're asking every single employee, regardless of if they come over to this plan, to take a 5% reduction in pay. Now, I realize that in the long term, it's better for them. I get it, and it will be. All these things are good, right? 30 years from now, they're good. But right now, there are people in our midst that need to buy groceries. They have to pay their mortgages, their car loans, whatever. And you're asking them to take a 5% cut on their take-home pay each and every week, while simultaneously asking the city to take on another 2% on its shoulders. So
Without
there's an
knowing,
issue here, guys, that we gotta find our way through this.
And remember, the current employees have an option.
It's up.
They don't have to do it.
Yeah, they don't have to do the 5%.
Buck first, then second.
without knowing the potential savings on the fees that we could have versus what we're paying right now, that 2% or whatever might be a wash. Who knows? Until we know all of the fees, I don't think that,
We can have.
we can have the conversation about harm at this point.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this, part of this is from my seat in the city and what I hear during exit interviews and even current employees with, I'm leaving because I'm going to TCRS, having current employees coming here. Any updates on TCRS? I mean, that has been a continuous thing ever since the first time we had them come in and talk to us. Getting back to the other thing that I want us to all understand, like you just brought up, anyone that is currently on the 401K can stay there. So if they're contributing or not, that does not change for them if they choose not to. Any new hires that come on and would be required to put in the 5%. They would be coming on and they don't know any different.
Yeah, that's true.
if I may, and I try to refrain from comments with the gavel in my hand, but I am a beneficiary of TCRS. Every other city that I've worked with, and the state, I was always TCRS until coming here. And to echo Stacy's point, I was iffy on whether or not to come because I was so close to TCRS to finish out my service. But Shelbyville's so awesome and great council members. And our city attorney was very persuasive. So, but the reason I say that, with all the other places, with the state, with Oliver Springs, Newport, Albany, April, all the other places, when I went in, they said, yeah, here's what your contribution's gonna be and everything. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it's just automatic. I didn't give it. Now, for existing employees that are not contributing and will be asked to, if you choose, it's your choice. So,
I just want to follow up my statements by saying this. I in no way am lobbying for anything. I'm just trying to share some of my conversations and letting you know what is being brought to me. And I think as human resources or a department director and you've got your employees coming to you, the worst thing you can do is not listen to them. So we're all here to try to bring other options to our employees because they have been coming and asking. And if it works out, and it's not, I'm not saying, oh, this bad, this good, nothing like that. It's just, it's a process. And it is too early we do not have the pieces of the puzzle together to even know what the picture looks like right now.
I was gonna ask, on these recent cities that have come on, do you have sort of a percentage of how many of their current employees are choosing to come on, or are they staying where they are?
It's the majority choose to come on. Now in Lynchburg, that's a different situation. They bought all their time back. Everybody came on.
They're a small city though.
Yeah. But I mean, the people that didn't come on are usually people that have been there for a long time and were used to whatever they had before. Maybe they thought, you know what, I'm going to retire in less than 5 years, so I'm not going to benefit from this.
Sure. I see that.
The majority tend to come on. It's usually a handful, depending on the size of the city. Like Gallatin was our last one, and our last big one, and the vast majority came on. And it was for them. It was that they couldn't hire anybody, public safety wise. They were having a hard time getting experienced police officers and firefighters. So they didn't want to go anywhere. They didn't have TCRS. That was the big thing there. But it's different everywhere.
That brings up another question. You may have answered it. On the TCRS, the employee is contributing, so we do the 5%. They only work 4 or 5 years or they retire or whatever. They don't get their portion of the 5% contribution back, do they?
Yeah, if they want it. Let's say they work 4 years, they didn't invest, right? Yeah, absolutely.
They do get their.
Yes,
Okay.
plus interest.
Oh.
Plus interest, and if they take it as cash, there's a nice 20% IRS penalty. But they can roll it. Say they go in the private sector, they can roll it over to the private sector 401k, no penalty, or an IRA, no penalty.
Yeah. And over certain age, 59 and a half, don't have the penalty.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they, no, because it's a defined benefit, any cash payment penalty.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they're over 5 years, they just, I mean, let's say I leave now. So I'm also an attorney. Let's say I leave now and go into practice the law. I've got 17 years of service. My salary's frozen. At age 60, I got a benefit to turn on. Turn on. Keep working. But so if you're vested, we rarely see people take that money because they lose the ability to pull that. But if they're not vested, yeah, sure, they refund all the time.
I was just gonna say, when you're comparing fees, are you also gonna consider the fact that they can take our 401k money with them if they're only here like 2 or 3 years? Cause now, they don't get the city part until they're vested.
We're simply gonna look at the employee fees, right? We're gonna look at
Well,
how
then there's
admin,
other costs.
we're looking at admin fees and we're looking at fund fees. How much the funds are charging. We're gonna compare them. So we've got, $10 billion in our plans, in our deferred comp plans. So we're able to shop at Costco. We buy everything institutionally priced and we don't charge the employees anything.
So that's a separate cost.
It's a separate,
It's
yeah.
a separate cost, but it is a cost. I mean, we get
It's the
checks,
best thing.
we get checks quite often and money back.
Forfeitures.
We have a lot of
I
turnover.
mean, if they're.
Yeah.
And I can see how TCRS is a good recruiting
401k
tool,
is investments.
but once you get it, it's also easier for your people to jump ship to go somewhere else that has TCRS. So it's a way to get them, but it's also a way for people to leave.
Oh,
and go
They're in,
somewhere
they're in,
else.
and they're like, where can I get a high five from?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I mean, that's why our state troopers, they're almost exclusively from local governments because they started out at 80 grand or something. And they know they can get they can keep going with their TCRS. So.
I was just gonna ask a procedural question. It sounds like you do this a lot and get cities to come on. So what we're asking for you to do, is that normally the first step? Is that how you proceed?
Yeah, it can take a long time. I mean, it took Thompson Station, it took 4 years. I mean, it's not a problem. Or it can, Chapel Hill, 6 months. Like, it just depends. It doesn't matter. Our only rule is you only can come in at the beginning of a quarter. And there's some stuff we have to do. The comptroller's office got to approve you, things like that. But each quarter, at the end of the day, the TCRS board approves you. It's a formality, but they need each quarter. So you can only come in the beginning of each quarter.
I was just making sure we're starting out right, because
You're starting out exactly how you should. You're starting out thoughtful, and that's how, this is a long-term commitment. Because even if, let's say you join in 3 years from now, you come back to me and say, gosh, we don't want this anymore. That's fine, but it's only gonna be for new hires. Everybody stays in. You're gonna have a relationship with us until everybody dies, and potentially the beneficiaries die. So you guys are doing it really well, in my mind. It's a very thoughtful process, which is what needs to be.
And follow up on Trevor's comments and Stacy's answers. Stacy, do you ever have anybody that wants to be employed or applies to the city that says something like, well, if you had TCRS, I'd probably.
Yeah, that is a question a lot that I receive, is whether or not what our retirement is. If it's TCRS or not. Now, I'm not.
So most of those people would have experience. A lot of the things I think that Trevor was getting at, that people are living paycheck to paycheck and that kind of thing, are probably newer employees in the system that over time, it sounds like to me, if we have this kind of option, that we're cannibalizing somebody else's employee that wants to move to Shelbyville, you're gonna wind up with more experienced employees possibly. And it's just getting over that hump, not having that 5% or whatever, 7% you get both plans.
And
Paycheck. Being in the finance world, that's what we generally see. If they don't have it in the paycheck to begin with, they don't miss it until it's like this situation, someone may say it starts coming out. That's in the long run, they're so much better off. You've got 16% going in to retirement plans.
Oh, you don't have to convince me, I agree.
I know.
Yeah.
And there will be some that won't, because believe you me, we have had people leave the city for $1 more an hour with no benefits.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, but you won't have insurance, but they're young and they don't need insurance. And then they want to come back because now they're having a child, or now life is hitting them and they're like, oh, that $1 an hour really didn't do me any good. There's one final thing I want to bring up. I'm not sure if you remember, during the last cycle, we did that employee survey that was sent out, and this is just the employees that participated, and this is kind of getting back to what I was saying, in the retirement system, which would you prefer? And it was the 401k, you had 24.34% of the vote, and, oh, okay, and then 76 was interested in the TCRS.
Well, look at that.
And 152 answered, we have about 250, so that's.
That's a pretty good sample
And the
size.
survey didn't tell them 5% was coming out of their check. That wasn't on the survey.
That'd be a good question, that.
Yeah, that's.
If they know about TCRS though, they
Most
know.
don't know about it.
I mean, yeah, if they do know about it though, they know that generally most of our local.
Well, I say most don't know about it.
Now, my point I'm bringing this up is just because some of us, this is what we have heard, and we're trying to find out more information and do our due diligence, because the one thing you can't have is an employee that feels like they're never heard.
Well, I will say, as somebody who worked for somebody for 20-something years that didn't have any benefits, retirement or, insurance, and now I'm 64 and real close to having to worry about how I'm gonna get paid the rest of my life after I retire, probably having to work a lot longer than I want to. I wish I had worked for an employer when I was in my 20s and 30s that thought about this kind of stuff for me, because I didn't know. My husband did, and then he passed away young, and so I wish I had worked for somebody also who was looking out for me at that time. Just, I might not have appreciated it at that time, but when you get older, you appreciate it. I'm seeing my mother now, who's 80, and she worked for the city, and they had the pension plan, and that's being very beneficial to her at this point in her life. And when I get to be 80, I'm not gonna have that. So, you know, speaking for me personally, that's my opinion. I think it's good that the city is at least looking out for the employees.
Great.
Additional comments? Perfect. James?
No, I'm good. I think I have some cards in here and I'll leave them, so if y'all think of anything, just email me. I'll get it tomorrow, I'll answer. If not, I'll respond with it.
You'll email me what you need, then I'll make sure that you get in touch, because I won't be the one providing that information, so.
I'm gonna send it to you tomorrow.
Get there, in touch with us.
So if no further business, I hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Yeah, January 8th.
9:30.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas until then.
Motion.
Motion, do I hear a second? Second. Meeting's done.